rev up your engines. Today I'm going to tell you how you can check to see if your engine is worn out inside and blown a head gasket. Now, head gaskets do exactly what they say. There's the head of the engine with the valves, then there's the gasket, the head gasket, and that bolts on the block of the engine where the pistons are. Head gaskets have lots of holes in them. They seal the pressure of the pistons going up and down. They seal the oil that goes through the oil galleys to lubricate the top of the engine, and they seal the coolant holes that let coolant cool the engine so it doesn't overheat. And when they start to leak internally, it can cost a small fortune to replace the head gaskets in a car. In the case of this Lexus, it's a big quad cam V8. If you're going to do a head gasket job on this, expect to spend thousands of dollars to do it correctly. So many times people decide, hey, they're going to get rid of the car that's got a blown head gasket, so I'm going to show you how you can test to make sure whether it's blown or not. Now, if it's really blown and it's running poorly, all you have to do is have a cold engine. This one sat all night. Then remove the radiator cap and start the engine. And if you saw coolant and gas bubbling out right away, that means it's really blown, because your engine sucks in air, then inside the cylinders the gasoline is burnt and exploded, and the hot gas comes out the exhaust, and all the exhaust gas is supposed to come out here, out the exhaust pipe. If on a cold engine you started and the gas starts coming out of here, that means that the head gasket's blown and it's pushing exhaust gas through the radiator. But often when head gasket leaks start, they're kind of insidious. You might lose a little coolant over time, and you don't see it leaking anywhere because the engine's burning it, but it's not bad enough that it's going to make things bubble out. That's when you need a test like this. It's a test tube and the test liquid. You stick it in the radiator, but if you have to, first suck out some of the extra coolant here so that you don't suck any of the coolant into the testing device itself. Then you put the tester over the radiator, then get this nice blue test fluid and fill it up with a little line right here. Then you put the bulb on the top and create some suction. Then you start the vehicle and keep sucking to suck any air that's inside through the test material. And in this case, you can see the blue fluid has turned yellow, which means there's an exhaust gas leak and the head gasket at a minimum is blown. Now I say at a minimum because, of course, if the head is warped or cracked, or the block or the gasket is blown, it's going to let exhaust gas get into the cooling system. It could be any of those problems, and they're all relatively expensive to fix on modern cars. Now, when I was a young mechanic in the 1960s, heck, we'd do head gasket jobs and maybe $200 or something. It wasn't that big of a deal. But today, it can cost thousands on modern cars, and God forbid that your head's warped or your block's warped. Modern heads and blocks cost so much money, it's really not worth fixing most cars. It's more than the value of the car, because they generally don't blow till they get older. Now, if you're really short of funds and your head gasket's starting to blow, there are various head gasket sealers out there. Each of them have an advantage and a disadvantage. Steel Seal, which I talked about years ago, was the best one I ever found, but unfortunately that design really doesn't work with modern antifreeze. So you'd have to empty all the coolant out, get it all out, run it with water, and then take the thermostat out. Sometimes that stuff can last for quite some time, but you can't mix it with modern antifreeze. Now, for modern cars with long life antifreeze, the best sealer that I found is the Bars head gasket sealer. I get it at AutoZone's. It's $30-something, and that seems to be the best one if you want to just try to put some sealer in to get a little bit more life out of it. But of course, any sealer is just a big gamble. What you want is not to have a blown head gasket in the first place. And to do that, you want to keep clean antifreeze in your car. The old stuff you have to change every 3 years or 30,000 miles, but some of the modern coolants go 7 years, 150,000 miles. You don't have to change it all that much. But if you keep your car a long time, change the coolant. That keeps the head gasket from corroding. And of course, the #1 way to prevent a blown head gasket is never overheat your engine. As your car's running, the heat of the engine is taken away by the cooling system. If the cooling system fails, you got a leak or the water pump stops working, the heat builds up, and modern engines have a lot of aluminum parts. Aluminum will warp under very low temperatures. You can get an aluminum cylinder head, you can stick it in the oven in your house, and then it can warp even from that small amount of heat, and it gets a lot hotter inside the engine of a car. So you never want your engine to overheat. And of course, a lot of people think oil lubricates the engine, but engine oil also does a lot of cooling of a modern engine. So you want to have good, clean oil too, because if you let the oil get too old and dirty, that can make an engine overheat. And of course, dirty oil is more friction, and that can do damage to gaskets too by just the extra friction of dirt passing by the gasket and eroding it. And since this is Mechanic Monday, I'm giving away one of these leak block tests. All you gotta do to have a chance to win is place a clean, non-offensive comment on the YouTube comments below to get a nice block leak tester kit to see if your engine really is starting to blow a gasket. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.